ETFs offer the ability for nearly anyone to easily invest into the stock market and build wealth over time, where they are currently on the rise and are now key building blocks within many portfolios. And so from all of the content I create around ETFs and investing as a whole, I'm about to show you 5 common mistakes that many overlook when investing into ETFs that could really cost you a lot of money down the road. Which, if you don't know what ETFs are, they're pretty much a simple way for you to easily invest into hundreds to thousands of different investments, all within one purchase. But before we get started, my name is Sully. I run the company InvestLane with the mission to help others save and invest wisely to build lasting wealth. And all I ask is that if you do find value from this video, that you consider hitting the like, subscribe, and notifications button for future content like this. With that said, the first mistake to go over is about fund overlap and correlation. Now, the biggest thing to realize here is that understanding what you own and how you are diversifying for your own situation and personal goals, it's crucial to know as you invest over time. And so fund overlap pretty much shows how many of the same holdings 2 ETFs have and how they're weighted. For example, VOO, that is an S&P 500 ETF, when compared to VTI, that is a total US stock market ETF, they currently have an 88% overlap by weight, with 493 of the holdings being in each of the ETFs, and that 100% of the S&P 500 VOO is also in VTI. And if we scroll down, you can see that each fund has the same top companies like Nvidia, Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, and Google that are the largest holdings in the fund by their weight, and you can see the exact overlap they have with each other. Now, if you're curious, this is a free online tool from the ETF Research Center, and I'll have a direct link in the description below for you if you want to check it out. But all in all, realize that if you were to buy both VOO and VTI, everything in VOO is also in VTI, so purchasing both doesn't really make much sense since you're duplicating many of the largest holdings. Which, the nice part about this is that it's super easy to check the fund overlap, where you could easily check other investments like a dividend ETF like SCHD that has an 8% overlap by weight with VOO. Gold through GLDM has a 0% overlap. International stock through VEA has 0%, or Bitcoin that also has 0% of an overlap with the S&P 500. But knowing that, what's even more important in order to take things to the next level is to also think about how different ETFs, like the ones I just mentioned, correlate with each other. Now, understand that the correlation between 2 investments range from a negative correlation of -1, and that pretty much means that they move in the exact opposite way of each other. So if one asset increases in value, the other one tends to decrease. And then if it's around a 0 correlation, that means that there is no relationship between the movement of the assets, where a positive correlation could be up to +1. The closer you get to that number, the more the assets are likely to move in the same direction. So at 1, when one goes up, the other asset tends to go up as well, and vice versa if it were to go down. Now, this site I'm using is completely free and it's called Portfolio Visualizer, and you can see how VTI and VOO, they have a 0.99 correlation, which means that the movements they have in the market are nearly identical, which makes sense because they have so much of an overlap. But as you diversify into other ETFs, SCHD and VOO, they have a correlation of 0.44, meaning that they somewhat move in the same direction, but they're not perfect. Or if we look at other assets like gold that have a negative correlation of 0.29, that means that, say stocks were to dip, gold may actually move in the opposite direction and actually be up, which would help balance out your portfolio. And even BND with a correlation of 0.36 or FBTC that is 0.54, these are all solid additions to balance out a portfolio. But realize that this does not prove everything, because the volatility of each investment can be completely different, like bonds with BND that has a 2.74% standard deviation when compared to Bitcoin with FBTC that is 34.77%. The reason I mention all this is because if you solely put 100% into popular ETFs like VOO, VTI, an infotech ETF like VGT, and even a large cap growth ETF like SCHG, they all have significant overlap, and if the market were to crash, you better not have to sell all your investments at the bottom. And remember, everyone invests differently, where Warren Buffett has said diversification is protection against ignorance, and that it makes little sense if you know what you are doing, where he even has the majority of his investments in only a handful of companies. Where on the other hand, Ray Dalio preaches the importance of diversification saying the most important thing you can have is a good strategic asset allocation mix. But knowing that, the next mistake is active trading. Now, unlike mutual funds, ETFs trade like stocks, where you can buy and sell them at any time when the market is open. And just by knowing that ETFs are flexible to sell at any time, you may be more likely to want to change your positions often, or even trying to time the market. Or say you were to instead pick individual stocks, realize that over a 20-year period, only 21% of companies survive that long and outperform the market, where 52% of the companies actually get delisted. And so the biggest lesson to take away here was from Charlie Munger, where he said the big money is not in the buying or selling, but in the waiting. The craziest stat to see here is that if you had $100,000 invested in the S&P 500 back in 1988 and you held on to it until 2024, you would have averaged an annual return of 11.1%, giving you a final $4.9 million. But if you missed out on just 10 of the best performing days, then your end portfolio would instead have actually dropped 52%, leaving you with less than half of the amount, being $2.3 million, and the average annual return would have dropped to 8.9%. Where if you then missed the best 20 days, then you would have dropped your returns down 72%. And if that were 30 days, that would then have dropped down 82% from what you would have had if you just listened to Charlie Munger and just waited it out. Now, another study I found on this topic computed a very similar outcome, and it actually showed that 50% of the market's best days occurred in a bear market. So like I mentioned about having high correlating assets, if a bear market were to come up, you better be ready to buy instead of sell. And not to mention, but the transaction cost can definitely add up the more you trade, and depending on what ETFs you use for it, where an example here could be an ETF like SPYM, that would be better for long-term investors, and then SPY could be best for active traders. But knowing that, the next mistake is chasing past performance. A great example here is to look at a sector ETF like SMH that tracks solely semiconductor companies, where you can see over the past 10 years that the fund actually has grown 33.37% per year on average. And if you so simply happen to just invest $100,000 into it, having all the confidence in the world that you knew it was going to grow 33.3% per year, then you would actually have, by today, nearly $1.8 million. Or you may have even known that you wanted to YOLO on a VGT that averaged 23.2% per year over the past 10 years. Now, those investments have done very well, but going all in based off of its previous performance, first realize that especially being a sector ETF, they can be very volatile, and that past performance for sure is not guaranteed in the future. So if you're starting now in these investments, I would rather start small. So realize that chasing past performance you have to be very careful with, because even from something like the dot-com bubble, looking at QQQ, investors would have seen significant losses, and that would have lasted for years. Many that invested in that era wouldn't even want to bear the weight of checking or even looking at their portfolios. Now, I'm not saying to avoid a high market entirely, because something like the S&P 500 over time, it is proven to have strong growth for those that simply waited. But regardless on market conditions, more so realize that investing principles like dollar cost averaging to be consistent with how much and how often you invest in the market is crucial to at least have as a minimum barrier, especially for retirement investing. And also realize that if the opportunity arrives anywhere else, remember the basic investing principles of buy low, sell high. Most investors who get the biggest returns typically get in before the hype, and they have the patience to wait long term, which is why risk and reward is crucial, because no one can predict the future. But knowing that, the next mistake is not automating investments. As I just mentioned, the S&P 500 has done very well over time, where since 1957, it has averaged roughly 10% per year. Even through numerous downturns, it has still done very well for investors, which is why it's considered to many as the US stock market benchmark. And Warren Buffett himself even recommends to ordinary investors, and even his wife after his passing, to keep things simple and have 90% in the S&P 500 with 10% in short-term government bonds. So let's say that you do this throughout your entire career and end up averaging 10% per year, putting $620 in every month, which would fulfill the max contribution for a Roth IRA, then that would leave you with over $2 million, and at retirement within a Roth IRA, that would be completely tax-free. And so the biggest problem with not automating your investments is that after a few weeks or months, you may realize that you never even invested because other expenses came up, or you just spent money on other things that you probably know you shouldn't have. And then after a while, you may be hit with a really hard lesson where you may not be on track for retirement, or not have enough for certain things that you thought you would have. As you can see in this image, it shows the amount to invest monthly based on your age in order to reach $1 million by retirement. And if you were to start at age 21, that would be $250. Age 25 would be $350. And if you don't start until you're 35, then you would need to contribute $725 every month. Age 41 would be $1,200, or age 46, you would need $1,800 every month. And with inflation over time, you would likely need more than $1 million, and these numbers could end up being even higher. All in all, at the least, start automating investments today based on the minimum that you would need in order to have a safe retirement, then go from there however you would like. But knowing that, the last mistake to mention is ignoring fees and taxes. This one is often overlooked and many are not even aware of it, but the cost from fees and taxes can easily take away hundreds of thousands of dollars from anyone watching this video. The first fee I'll mention is that if you are investing through a robo-advisor solely because you are nervous to invest on your own, remember that the typical cost could be anywhere from 1 to 2% annually on your entire portfolio. And if we looked at that simple S&P 500 example of averaging 10% per year throughout your career, if you were to use a financial advisor, that would drop 1.5%, where you would now lose more than $600,000 of your own potential money. Now, financial advisors can definitely have the right time and place, but at least being aware of this is important to know. But for many that watch my content and follow InvestLane, you likely invest on your own, and a key thing to be on the lookout is for the expense ratio of each ETF that you own. And so you may hear popular ETFs like Cathie Wood's that is actively managed and under the ticker of ARK, ARKK, but you may not realize that the ETF costs 0.75% per year, which it's even reported that 89.5% of funds underperformed the S&P 500 over the past 10 years, and even a blindfolded monkey throwing darts at a financial newspaper could select a portfolio that would do just as well as ones carefully selected by experts. But assuming the example of ARK grows just as well as the S&P 500, you would likely lose just over $300,000 solely from the cost of owning the fund over time. This is exactly why I highly recommend investing into index ETFs, since they passively track particular markets. They're typically going to be much cheaper, where ones like VOO, VTI, VGT, SCHG, and many more like this you could easily find under 0.1% of an expense. In fact, Charles Schwab specifically states on their site that the average expense ratio for their passively managed funds is 0.05% when compared to their average mutual fund that is 0.76%. Besides that, the tax efficiency as you invest, especially in normal taxable brokerage accounts, is a huge mistake that can also cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars over time as well. And so the biggest factors here include the dividends you earn and the capital gains that you capture when you sell the investment. So as far as dividends, realize that they are going to be taxed regardless on if you reinvest them or not. Because of that, always know two things when you buy an investment, and that is the dividend yield that you are likely to generate and how much could potentially be in qualified dividends. Now, let's say you're on the younger end and you want to invest for many years and grow your portfolio. So to understand this visually, we made a simple design at InvestLane that shows the potential tax drag for a few investments based on a median income earner with a 22% tax bracket. And in the end, the tax drag on an investment like JPI in a normal taxable brokerage account would have costed you 1.65% of a drag. Where one of my favorites, that is SCHG, has a low 0.4% dividend yield and the potential for 100% qualified dividends if you hold it long enough, and that tax drag would have ended up only bringing you down 0.06%. And as I mentioned earlier, doing this over many years has a significant difference, and a 1.5% difference over time would end up costing you over $600,000. But another easy mistake that's in your control are the capital gains distributions that you capture, which pretty much means how much profit or loss you make from an investment from the time that you bought it to the time that you sold it. So let's say that you bought $20,000 into VOO, and after 6 months, that became $25,000 and you decided to sell it. That would trigger what's called a short-term capital gain because you held the investment for less than 1 year. And all that means is that all the gains, that $5,000, they are now going to be triggered toward your ordinary income tax rates that are between the range of 10 to 37% at the federal level. But if you hold onto that investment for at least 1 year before you sell it, then the gains are now going to be taxed as long-term capital gains in the brackets of 0, 15, or 20%. And if you're in a state with no income tax as well, you may very well end up paying no tax on your gains. All in all, for anyone looking to grow investments strong over time, buy ETFs that track growth-oriented US companies that pay low dividends, and if you believe in the US economy long term, you'll likely do very well. Now, if you want to see other free resources like my free index fund cheat sheet, other content that I've created, or want to start investing on a new platform, I'll have direct links in the description below for you. At the end of the day, I want you to do what's best for your finances, but do know that depending on the ones you choose, I may earn a commission for it, which is greatly appreciated. And as always, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, and notifications button for future content like this.